This is Spectrum.
Alternative medicine, homeopathy, secrets, society, hypnosis, the paranormal, alternative energy, UFO, abduction, the weird, the wild, and the wonderful.
With your hosts, Tom Theophanous and Scott Jordan.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Spectrum Radio Network on BBS Radio 2. This is Scott Jordan here, my co-host, Tom Theophanous, and remember, there's no such thing as too much information. Hey, Tom, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, Scott, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Doing
good. My uncle passed away the other day.
Oh.
Yeah, Kenny Brown.
Sorry to hear.
Rest in peace. Other than that, everything's good. What do we got tonight?
Well, tonight we have the BBS Radio guys, Doug and Don Newsom. The same folks that were on the radio right now. Well, Doug and Don had a vision to build a media portal primarily encompassing internet and radio. That's not mainstream media, but a unifying, interactive source of enlightenment, a spiritual media force developed by people with a passion for life. BBS Radio was created to promote a smorgasbord, a variety of shows to lift up the human spirit to a higher vibration. Everyone with a passion should be allowed to spread their message from the heart without being controlled by mainstream media and corporate greed. Hey, guys. How you doing?
Doing wonderful. Hello.
Well,
hello.
It's a pleasure.
Okay, now, everybody's got to understand that Doug and Don Newsom, the BBS Radio guys, are twins. So they sound a lot alike, and good luck trying to tell who's who. So guys, just maybe a little history. What were you guys doing before? Because I know BBS Radio was sort of a mission. It came about as something you felt you needed to do. What happened? What led up to that? What was the history of that?
Well, I'll tell you. To be quite honest with you, it was passion. I mean, BBS Radio was born of emotion. It was serious emotion going on, and I wanted to give it wings, and eventually it became a butterfly, and it's flying, really. That's how it happened. The emotion really was one of anger and love. I was reading political papers. I was pretty interested in what was going on because I have 4 children and a wife, and my life was taking various turns in business, and I was interested. And, of course, the war was breaking out in Iraq, and politics, nothing was as it seemed. However, I got really jolted when I read the paper, and I noticed that there were like 44 senators or representatives stung in a sting, all on bribery, all taking bribes. And then the next day, it's floored me so much because the next day I wanted to show it to people I knew, including my wife, and it was gone. And there was no mention of it, and I couldn't find it ever again, and I tried, believe me. And I really wasn't an information seeker on the Internet, so it knocked me for a loop. I actually couldn't believe that something so large could be covered up, and what does that mean? So that was my awakening, and blogging service was born because of that. A place for people with a lot of love and a lot of heart to start talking about what the heck is really going on behind the scenes that's affecting everybody and will affect them so much. So eventually, shortly after forming Blog and Service, that was really something that led to a passion, and that is to change.
Do you remember the date?
That was back in March of 2005, I believe, or February.
And I'm going to guess this is Dawn.
Correct.
You guys should have a lead-in like, this is Dawn, this is Doug. So it was 2005 when that happened.
Yeah, and 2004 when it all started culminating, 2005 when we started to put it together.
Mm-mm.
And
2002, 2003
yeah,
we started in the blog, 2004, 2005 we incorporated.
Right, well, yeah. There was a little prehistory to that, but really it was emotional And it really had something to do with being in media, because we didn't like the media. We weren't, somehow, if something like that could be covered up, I knew at that point that media was essentially not going to tell us the truth and could eliminate the truth. Now, that's an interesting point. And so I figured there's got to be a way to balance that. And that's where it led into my desire to be a balancing factor, an actual balancing factor in a new age kind of way, so that there would be truth spoken, that the truth wouldn't forever be deleted, that there would be somebody else out there fighting for them on their behalf to perpetuate the truth, and not all the bull and the bunk, but the real truth. And we wanted to do it in the New Age medium, which we believe is going to be the herald for truth in the future. So that's my dissertation. It really was a passionate thing. It was more political and anger and love where it all got started.
My brother moved on the emotions of real political interest and emotion, because my father was, very well read, knew his history, and always saw something greater out there in context, something that was manipulative, larger in force, and had its own dines on things. You can imagine. So in that sort of an atmosphere, we got into business, and it was very dramatic. I wouldn't wish it on Hitler. Couldn't do it to him. It would just be just a bad scenario where you see the worst in people because you are in business. And that, sooner or later, you see that around you in the political arena. And the real caliber of the people in business, they reflect the caliber of the people in the political arena. Everybody does, right down the bottom. They're the mark. They're the standard set. And whenever that standard is low, then everything goes to crap. But that wasn't why I got involved. I was.
This is Doug.
Yeah.
This is my twin brother.
I got involved for a different reason.
Yeah, I went through a spiritual Kundalini. It hit me right out of the blue after a year. Believe me, our lives were very hard, and I went into years of meditation and forgiveness. And one day, when I was stepping out of my shower, bing! I won't go into all that, but it changed me irreversibly, and it happened just as this thing was starting. So there was a real move for me to see the world. You can imagine, after
Great
Kundalini,
synchronicities,
you have like 6 months where your head's above the clouds. You're performing miracles in your mind, and while meditating, impossible to duplicate. I'm writing a book on it currently. I've never published it. I'm writing the second part of it, my reflections back on my first reflections. I've written 3 books. Wow. I just haven't published anything. But
talk to Tom.
It was the mover. it was the motivator for me. And so now, you have a political, a desire to see the world change. And me, I had a desire to love the world. It was so crappy. You have to love it, because you can't. You got to see. For me, I had to learn to love my enemy, and there was real purpose in that. And sooner or later, it changed my life. But on Don,
I think he's talking about
Don's
me.
life.
The enemy.
His true purpose was to shed light on the
relationship.
political arena. So it was kind of a two different reasons. Yeah,
we had a wonderful family. We actually had the best of all worlds. We had a brilliant mother. We had a loving father. We had people with principles, with characters, with such character that they actually were honest in everything they did, and everything they said, and how they transacted business and their personal lives. At least that's what the walk they walked. Now, as we got older, we realized there was a lot of gray lines too in business, and when you're in big business, things get a little wonky. And
you're swimming with the sharks.
You're swimming with the sharks. And sometimes, that leads to interesting moral dilemmas, moral hazards. And you then learn to compromise your very, I guess you'd have to say, immature understandings as you grow and evolve in the business world. And how much of it you can take.
We believed everything.
Right.
We were suckers. In business, if you don't protect against some future inevitability, you're a sucker. Don and I, why would we think of every simple bad outcome and then protect ourselves in the beginning of an agreement because of every single bad outcome? Didn't make sense to us. We weren't brought up that way. Yet in business, everything is how can we manipulate the situation if it's not written in a legal document. In both cases, and they think like that. We don't.
Yeah.
So when you have two parties and one thinks like that and the other doesn't, who gets taken advantage of?
Right,
Every time.
Every time.
Every time. That's and they're not about to tell you their desires and their intentions. They're going to be your best friend. Now, again, I understand in media things are a little bit, I mean, they're growing and they're ever evolving. But having my brother as a balancing act to me and being in such an arena that we can understand politics, what people are leading up to, the cutting edge of information, it's been profound. It's been a profound journey. But having my brother with me the whole way through and him going through a Kundalini when this company originated was a mind blower. The synchronicities behind it are what I think kept Doug going and adding and building to this till eventually we became what we are today.
Now, did you guys have any radio experience before?
None. Did you, Doug?
When you get into a business, everything's new in the beginning. We've been to that point of starting so many times. New never scared us. We just go with the flow. And this is how this company was kind of built. We didn't have the idea in mind. Don and I always built companies, with a plan of action right from the beginning. In this case, there was no plan of action. It was an organic growth from our own desire to put into it without really seeking anything from it. And that's right. And you could see a lot of other people doing that same thing. So when you get that quality
Very
of energy
organic.
from everybody around you,
Right.
it's and it becomes even more purposeful. It's something to really behold, and we're enjoying it, and hopefully it spreads.
And who was the blogger? One of you was a blogger.
Again, we started out as blog-in broadcasting service, and that's
Right.
BBS, and the blogging portion of it was really me, my passion. I am the Time Lord. I am the TNT Mad Dog. I am the Tenant. Those are the three. I never go by anything else, never have, but I'm very passionate. I get a lot of information that's sent to me. So much that I've limited my posts more now than I have in the past. But
Right.
I like to perpetuate truth. I like to be a springing board, a platform for new artists, new talent. I like to also be a springing board for truth.
What is truth?
Okay.
I would
No, I understand you. I figure all sides should be allowed to be heard, no censorship ever. And I think, and again, I don't agree with a lot of my hosts, but I think their opinion should be heard because they believe it and they love people. And if they're coming from the right place and they feel they're right and I don't, then who is? Again, truth is something you play with honestly, in my opinion. So.
Right.
So the growth was fairly rapid then.
Correct.
Time we started.
Very. We started out because I believed in one, being a balancing act for media, and two, alerting people to these changes affecting us. And that could lead to catastrophic changes like a polar shift of some form. Mm-hmm. It might take years, might be fast, I don't know. But it seems to be occurring in our timeline, and that's making a lot of changes, or could.
Right.
And so we got into radio with just a few hosts. Winfrey, because he wrote about Edgar Casey, and I thought, wow,
Right.
that's amazing. And then Fred Bell, who's making these gold pyramids to stick on everybody's
And
head.
Eva Hare, the lady I
telling him
spoke-
it's going to make him smarter. Wow, I'm in. I love that. And I mean, I just thought, okay, this is great stuff. And then Nancy Leader, and she's Zeta Talk, and she's talking about off-world aliens and a polar shift. Okay, I got my team. Right?
Yeah,
And away
you
we
wanted
go.
to live in a fantasy world where thought really,
Right.
you hope it does have the true reality, like the thought creates action, not action, but it actually manipulates the molecules around you. Well, that sort of idea at play in everything you do can become very magical. And so this
Secret,
world
they
was
call it,
very
yeah.
magical.
Right.
And it played on and it fed on itself. And our enthusiasm, of course, once we get into something we love, and we've really never loved anything.
I love you, Doug.
Yeah,
I really
well, we
love you.
built a lot of companies, but we never loved what we did. There was no sense of reward at the end of the day, any meaning, true meaning at the end of the day. And in this, there is. Actually, I have so little pressure and so little worry and so little stress, yet I make so little money now, and I'm so bloody happy.
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah.
Really? And you've had other companies that made lots of money, and you're like, you were slugging it out. You felt like you were dragging yourself out of bed.
That is a hard thing to go through.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm mortified when I hear of
That's
of
not the
people
hard
going
part.
through. No,
the
it's the hard part.
The hard part is really for Donald and I to get people to work at the speed we do. We work 100 hours each, not 40. And because of that, when we work around people, sometimes the speed at which we move and what we like to try to accomplish over a short period of time.
We don't like to debate it.
Let's not talk about
this
we
for
don't
the next
talk.
10 years.
Let's just do it. And so we're not very good leaders, but we just do it. And we move very, very fast. A lot of people need more planning. They need a few other things. So we aren't very good working with people that are of a corporate structure.
Yeah.
Right. But both of you are on the same wavelength when it comes to that way of working through things.
We have the same goals in mind because we're working so close to each other. You got to realize that we're seeing each other. We're thinking the same thoughts, talking to the same people. We even feel each other's goals, maybe. And they're pretty much one and the same.
Right.
That's
yeah.
And does any of that have to do with because you guys, BBS Radio is one of the pioneers of internet radio. It's been around for a while.
Could be the pioneer.
Yeah.
It's the pioneer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
You
there
guys
might be a couple
started
other.
the ball.
Well, I know this. When we got into internet radio, there were studios. There was AM, FM. And I was upset at media already because you know my mindset. And I was looking around, and I had my little team, my psychotic, wonderful, enchanting little
Brilliant.
team. And brilliant for talk radio. And I figured, we don't need a studio. Why do all these studios out there? There's all these studios, and they all want you to come in and use their equipment. And I've seen that thing before. I have equipment of my own. And I thought, why am I going there and doing this when we're in the internet? I mean, it's the new age. I'm talking new age. Why can't there be a new age thing? And that would be remotely engineer. Give them the same qualities as traditional radio and give them the engineers and the staff and everything else that are going to make their program a success and a working group of people that are diligent like a station, but do it remotely. Give it all to them, not just a part of it. And so we decided to, although we had a choice. We could have built a remote system that people would do it all themselves in a little call-in portal or video portal or audio portal like some of the major companies out there that actually have stream portals. They offer you a stream, you dial in, you do your program, and boom, call it internet radio, right? We're a little more traditional than that. We didn't want to be those little portals. We were really a crossover between traditional radio and internet radio. And so we figured we are internet radio. There was nobody doing this. Nobody that I knew of except for a company at the time that had developed a platform for this type of a system, and that was, of course, Voice America, okay? The others had studios. They had some form of a studio or AM, FM, and they were piping into the internet. Get me wrong, there was internet radio.
Yeah.
But there was talk radio for the internet and being piped in the internet, but no remotely engineered internet talk radio. Okay.
Right. It had more than one show.
And there was like ourselves, and I looked around. There were a couple coming out at the same time. I don't even know. I mean, we might have been right there first on the scene. There might have been a couple others, but it was so limited. I think the others were studios. They had studios. In fact, I know that. There was nobody doing just remote. So I developed a system to do that, and I got to tell you, it was almost like it came to me overnight. And so I built it, put the thing together.
That's where all our money went.
Yeah.
Figuring it out. What would work with what.
Well, it cost me a pretty penny, to put it all. But I did it. And
you built a studio in your home, didn't you?
I built a studio in my home with about, 13 to 19 computers, depending on what you're doing and where you're at, with a little sound equipment, audio cables, a lot of things going on. Well,
this whole room, this whole place
it's all
is
equipment
one big
and wires. How's that?
Yeah.
And
I
working
think the whole,
here,
this whole upper level of became Radio Land.
Whole bottom level.
we want to create
the whole bottom level, the third floor of the building, is all studio, and we're going to add on to that.
Yeah, there's a lot of land here. It's huge. This place is big, even though we went upside down, because of the land values here. But it's a beautiful place, and it's got capability to expand.
So we'll try it.
And we really have the heart's desire to, at some point, maybe provide an opportunity to bring in hosts at our leisure. And, if they want, they can perform here while they're in town, get to know us, at some point in the future. That would be nice, but that's all in the future.
Yeah, what you got going here is great because there's I notice there's a lot of structure out there in Radioland. And although you guys, you have a little bit of structure, you sort of leave it as open
We
as
did it exactly.
the host wants to do it. I mean, there's nobody in my show or in Tom's show as well. There's nobody, and I would say there's all the shows. There's no music that comes on that.
No, we did a first in all of it. Again, we really transform this business. If you'll see others emulate what we're doing in those respects.
They don't just emulate, they copy verbatim.
Well, yeah, we've actually, what we did is the first in most respects. One would be remotely engineering. Two would be putting them into schedules where instead of they got a daily show, they got weekly shows, really going weekly and bi-weekly, which is every other week, and then starting schedules at alternate times, not putting the clockwork and saying the heck with the 2040 or the 2040 top of the hour time clock, and we started to say, we can do this in a whole different way, and we did.
And we're going to do it again. We're going to take it to another level. I shouldn't speak about this too much because I don't want to put out there what's not already done. But
yeah, don't give away the farm.
But this,
but you can't.
We got some goodies coming. We're gonna change it up again.
We're going to marry two very large ideas around the media structure and the internet that is really going to, I think, be the next platform for anybody doing any business in our industry. In fact, I think we'll be so far ahead of the pack, they're going to wonder. But that's going to take us some time.
But you guys are working on inspiration. You're working on the creative flow. I mean, the things are going to come to you that would normally bounce off a business mind.
And we actually are the only ones to. If an idea flows to me, unlike in Denny's where I have a million ideas but they go nowhere, I actually have to work on my ideas. So, and I do, and I'm the only one. I can't dish off that responsibility. If it means learning something completely new, if you knew my brother, this is how he teaches you. Learn it yourself.
Don't talk to me. I'm too busy. Leave me alone. I'm too busy doing it to teach you.
That's right.
So if you can't learn it by an example that's in front of you every moment, then, hey, I got better things to do. And that's how people learn around me because that's how I learn. It's the only way to teach somebody where they really learn. And you cannot learn what we do here unless you're forced into the fire.
Yeah.
Because this is an operation built by, a creative madness.
Yes,
there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's not like you could jump in here and try to work this equipment, think you're going to learn it in a month or two.
Right.
I
think Doug can just plug into your brain and suck all the information out.
Oh yeah. I get it through osmosis in the air.
You got no secrets. Who are you kidding?
That's right. But when one of us learns one thing, it's almost like the other one knows he's got to learn that too eventually, and knows he's probably not going to get much help. You know what I mean? Yeah, but we work well that way.
So Doug, tell me more about what this new thing is.
Oh, it's my vision is to see a content management structure based around full media input, radio, video, but create a Facebook-like experience, but not one level deep throughout the entire website, so it becomes particular in everything it shows throughout it, not just on one page where you're flying. It's really a site built around the user, and the user can then, set it up in such a way as to experience each page in the way he wants to, and the content flow. And he's going to get the different type of content flow. For example, maybe a host might want to interact and find out who all new guests are or what they've done. They might want access to different types of blogs and RSS feeds. They might want to archive their shows in many different ways and provide different apps for those. They might want to show content on the different profiles that they have, not just one, and do this all with user input.
Well, it's like it's
hard to
exactly.
So you could have a My Favorites page.
Well, we're kind of doing it now, so I'll allude to a little bit of it. Really, the old model of finding advertisers and sponsors, that ain't working. For internet radio, remember, it's an old model. That model might work with AM, FM, and that sort of market, but now you got everybody, Tom, Dick, and Harry, and they all want to be personalities, and they're all on the internet, and some of their programs aren't great, and some are great. And you got a flood of them, and internet radio made that possible, where we're going to change media. But in the course of changing the way media works, it creates a kind of interesting dilemma for the old model of sponsors and advertisers. Radio programs, most of them, that just won't happen. And they're a little disillusioned because all their life that's what they've been fed to understand. And we're still a young arena, young market. So that is still thanks to Blog Talk, that's pretty much dispelled most of them.
but the real key in any website is really content, and you want to drive content through users and their interaction experience with you, and be able to manage that content, capture it, and also produce it in a way that makes sense to other people. And that's really where we're going to go, because we get massive content. We just haven't really been able to work between the user, the host, the music artist, and our experience in an environment that makes everything simple and forward and in front of us when we need it.
And allows the host to benefit from that.
Yes.
In a financial way.
Multiple ways.
In multiple financial way. Yeah, correct. And they don't have, it's not extra, they're it's something above and beyond what everybody should offer. It's something we will, and the rest will come to eventually. We're going to do a bunch. In Internet Talk Radio, we might even be the first. I believe we were. I'm not positive on this, but I believe we were the first to actually charge for our archives. I know, weird, huh? Everybody was telling us no. We said, no, we're going to do it. And we did it. Successfully, I might add. Thank you, the listeners out there. Thank you. We love you. It's actually allowed us to give a professional service much cheaper than the big boys, which do this, a similar thing as we do, but a much higher price.
Half thing,
huh?
Right? You don't do that. You don't do the whole half thing. Half a show free, half a show. It's just you listen to it live for free. Knock yourself out 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you want to go back and listen to a show that was last week, just go into the archives. Not just one. You're not paying for one host.
You got them all.
You got them all.
Yeah. You got them all.
You're over 50 hosts now. I don't even know the
100
number.
And probably over 10,000 hours or more of.
Well, we got hundreds of shows that have been with us, but I mean, live currently 80 plus.
Yeah. And you can go and listen to, if you're a member of the archive, you're a member of a group archive, whereas the other shows, you join that particular host's streams. You subscribe to them, you get just listen to half the show. The other half, you have to go into the archives and listen. You know what I'm saying.
Most of the quality shows out there, I mean, you get one show like a Howard Stern, they charge you $29.95 a month. And, it's interesting. Our network, we have more celebrity guests in a week than most of these networks do in a year.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, our hosts get interviewed in all over on the circuit, on coast to coast. We have hosts that are not only in their own limelight, but actually help move the system in some respect or another.
You've got some pretty big names. I mean, you've got Alan Steinfeld.
Sure.
You've got James Gilliland.
Mm-hmm.
You got Brooks Agnew.
Sure.
I mean, the
Dr.
list goes
Bell.
on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
You got Tom Theophanis and Scott Jordan.
We have, and those two are quite special, I might add.
They are the special ones.
No, that's great. I'm glad I'm hearing about the new platform. I've heard a little bit about it. It sounds like it definitely is going to blow the doors off of internet radio, literally and figuratively.
Well,
It's
it'll
capable of
allow-
immense
yeah.
growth because it's organic and it's created by modules made by thousands of people. And these modules can literally be adapted if you're capable and fit them in as you need it and the way you need it. And it's truly, truly huge in scope. I mean, there's no limit to what the imagination can do with the sort of system and platform we're using.
He's just talking about a little content management portion to it, which will move information a little better as well.
Right.
Now, have you guys changed your views or ideas since you started this? Have you heard stories and circumstances throughout these thousands of hours that may have changed some of your views in the past?
Absolutely not. I've actually become able to collect all that information, observe it, and not judge it, and in that way probably be more open to everything. When you hear a million personalities and they all believe they're so right on, and God spoke to them, let's say, and it's really that impactful to them, and they bring that forth, you can't help but be moved by it. But do I believe what 99% of these people talk about? I believe they believe, and I believe in that way there's a creation of energy from it. But to be honest with you, I'm more scientific. I got to believe it to see it. I've heard that there are aliens. I sure wish one would say hi.
To believe it?
I sure wish one would say hi. Okay?
Yeah.
But I'm not going to say boo about anything anybody believes.
Right.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah,
That's a very organic approach.
That's why we're perfect for media.
Yeah, you got to be tolerant of all people, including even the people that want to be world rulers. Because I think in our society, if we can allow it, let's allow it. Let everybody have the possibility of being whatever they want, including overlords of the world. Just be benevolent. Don't go on a rampage. Thinking your power because you're there needs to be, to abuse others. And they can do that on a very large scale. And I think we got a mad loci who's really part of this whole money establishment that's really quite mad. And the others haven't reined him in. I kind of see it that way.
But, as
long as that madness kind of reigns, that mentality, and being perpetuated out there by a few, very powerful, I think madness is going to reign for a while, perhaps most likely here in this country for quite some time. And that's kind of, upsetting. I understand how money needs to move. It's a global society now. I have nothing against globalized people and people that communicate globally. I just think you got to you can't go intruding, though, on others' views, others' cultures, and if they don't want you there, step back, allow them their peace, allow them to have their room to breathe and be creative in their own way. So I think we're in that paradigm shift. I think more and more people are thinking like that, and I think we're going to see the change we want.
You think the humans are growing up, Doug?
Actually, I look at things totally different. I see imagine a company. And you get together with your buddies and you build this company and you put all your money into it and it takes you 50 years and you built a $1 billion empire, $100 billion empire. And it's a media company. And somebody comes in and offers you $1 trillion, heck, you're about to pass away. Well, do you morally inspect the people that are going to buy this business? Well, how could you if it's like 1 trillion other people that are trying to buy it through, let's say, one entity? So in many questions, what you've built, even if it was had perfect purpose and every right intention, maybe at the end you actually built the structure that something evil could have taken over instantly, but because you built this perfect structure for him, he now could take over the world in 10 seconds with it. But all the way through its growth, it was beautiful and had everything perfect.
Beautiful intentions.
So I see even bad things in that way. I can actually argue on behalf of any point of view. Bankers, I'll give you their point of view. Any point of view, but I can give you the absolute opposite with just as much passion. I'll even give them points of view they may not even have thought of because my mind is so far...
He loves to play the devil's advocate.
Right. I want to see on so many levels.
Because he wants to take the other viewpoints for a while and let it sit in, see how it weighs. And that's a great way to do things. I think we should all actually try to be more empathic, maybe.
Yeah, see through another's eyes.
Sure.
It's a lot of fun when you can do it and observe.
It is.
It takes a while. It took me a while as a conscious effort daily. And sooner or later, you realize your mind slows down, your thoughts slow down. You actually start talking to yourself, and now you actually
start talking to yourself.
You're actually a smart participant
then come the
with
tongues.
yourself. You're not just letting thoughts go to the wayside. And that slowing down and becoming a participant with yourself, I think, was created within me through meditation, And my brother also has that gift. I mean, one of the things I do love is the opportunity to think. This also gives us the opportunity to create. And we both, if we didn't have anything to do, we'd probably go insane and wreck the world. So the fact that we're busy, that's a plus.
Yeah.
That's an interesting way to look at it. I like that.
Well,
yeah. I mean, if you can take on another individual, no matter what that is, if you can take on their thought pattern and go, okay, now how do they think? Like from the global elite point of view, they've had hundreds, perhaps thousands of years to accumulate what they have.
Yeah,
and from their point of view, they bloody well earned it.
Yep, they did.
And however they feel about the rest of society or the other cultures or whatever the case, because they're not culture, but if we're talking about the biggest boys on the block.
Yeah, they're there, and
guys
by virtue of being
the guys
there,
that see America,
they have a right to be there. Isn't that wild?
They see America
there.
spending 25%. I mean, using up 25% of the resources against 4% of the population. And if you were a real global person, you had no, allegiance to any one country. You were capital, and you saw one guy over there getting paid pennies in Africa, and you knew you could take manufacturing plants. Oh, so what? America's going to go down, but at least these people over here have work. And everybody's screaming, "Oh my God, jobs are leaving America! Jobs are leaving America!" Yeah, well, how about the other 6 billion people on the planet that really could utilize, help? And if business makes that possible, so be it. It's the great equalizer. Well, that's one point of view. Now, that's not saying that's correct, but that's just one facet of something that could come out as a result of that understanding.
But again, I always like to bring it down to its, to its core, and the underlying reasons and the curve behind it. So, in other words, my point of view is always going to be more on a one-way road. You're pretty much going to be able to know what I'm thinking at all times, because the way I look at it is a little more stringent. I'm not that open.
Yeah.
I really am not. I see honesty as being a very narrow path. I think the truth is a straight line. Okay. Now, yes, I understand there are multiple truths or multiple opinions and ways of looking at things, and and how perceptions actually create our lives, certainly. But again, there is an underlying truth to all things, and we can see that even in how the religions grew up and evolved. So I'm a little more stringent in that respect. I don't want to be the devil's advocate and honor all sides. I want to understand some of it, but I'm not going to try to play devil's advocate and talk and take somebody's point of view that I know is wrong.
On a higher level, it's interesting. We're all going to be able to experience this. But if you can imagine being able to totally harmonize with a different energy, being so much so that you actually become that person and be able to live that experience, I think that we would find that coming out of any experience of somebody else's life is going to change our opinion. No matter what we say or how earnest we say it in this moment, if I step into your world, I actually thought about a movie, a premise of a movie where you have this guy, he sees the world in one way and he lives part of that movie through this one way, and he condemns the opposite. And then at the end, midway through the movie, his life shifts. He actually, in every experience, does what he hated, and yet through that experience, we each learn that there's something to that other point of view. So absolutely opposite to our own, yet in the context of the film and the things that he had to go through, you'd not only agree, you do it. And imagine not just one point like that, but 20, Just imagine, pick a big catalyzing event, but now let's make 20 points of view that are absolutely the opposite of how he perceived, himself in the first part of the movie. And for me, that's just showing that, if you can put somebody in a different environment, have all these different experiences, that there are times where you might think you're right, but this is what would occur. This is how you would be.
I agree. You see, a lot of times I don't know if I'm right. I go on a gut feeling. But I like to walk along a little more stricter understanding. I don't like to play devil's advocate like my brother as much.
But it's okay. I mean, because you guys are a balancing act.
Yeah,
for each other.
well, exactly. We're a balancing act. And as he grows, I grow, and we change and interweave. And that's been the beauty of our relationship. You got to remember, Doug and I have been working together for a long time. I mean, I don't think we stated this, but since birth, almost. We haven't gone to other schools or lived. We lived a little apart, but not worked apart in any capacity. We've always worked together on everything.
Really?
Yeah.
And we're 42. So that's been years. We've been doing
It's
this.
kind of like a marriage. We should be having an anniversary.
We had our
We'd be
first
on our
business.
42nd. Can you imagine?
When we were teenagers, we were starting into business. And
really? What was your first business?
Well,
Do you remember?
Oh yeah, we after we took our first job because our folks wanted us to work for somebody else just to get a flavor for it at McDonald's.
Because you come from a business family, right?
Yeah. And so we worked at McDonald's for a month. 3 months for a summer. And did some berry picking, and that was about it. We said we had enough. We'd rather work with you, Father.
Yeah, we'd berry picked since we were about 13 or 12, I think.
Yeah.
10 maybe?
Because of the business family, you were able to do that.
Yeah, we got involved with Father. It was an interesting journey.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
They wanted us to work for the money that we had.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's a good way of looking at things.
Yeah.
And
but
then
they
you
also
eventually-
gave.
They gave a lot.
They gave a lot. They gave everything. My
They were
mother
very
never
generous.
bought herself a new pair of stockings. Never that I can even remember in the years I knew her. She would never buy herself anything.
She'd rather give it away.
Very not selfish
Selfless.
at all.
Yeah,
My
very
father, he's a little
selfless.
different, but he was a wonderful man. We had a really great family. We just had a very strange, how do you
Business
put it,
life.
life.
Business
From
life.
that
How
environment.
about did you take your vacations together? And
We haven't
was it-
taken many late vacations.
Yeah, well, when we were younger, we did. Yeah, we took all of our vacations together, Doug and I. And as we grew older, we haven't taken as many vacations.
I think two since we were younger than
I
in our
work
teens.
holidays, 7 days a week. Of course, we're trying to start our own businesses, and the bigger they grow, the more you work. It seems it's always that way. But you put in your love and your passion and your time, because it's a physical world. It requires a physicalness. So as you put that in and show that effort, the world does reward you with in similar fashion. So.
Besides, if you had it all, you'd get lazy. Idleness breeds contempt.
And now's the time, folks. I mean, you don't want to be laying back on the beach drinking Mai Tais. Well, maybe you do. But, we're in a new age. We're coming right around a pretty interesting time period that everybody says is going to get wonderfully chaotic. And that's landing into 2012. And so I'm kind of enjoying this journey. I love the roller coaster. I love the up and down. I think that's why I'm here.
That's the new age. We're all AHD, right? So that
Markets
means we
just
want the
crashed.
markets
All right.
to go up,
they're going
down,
up again. All
down.
right.
We want the commercials to be clicking on fast. We want 1 trillion subjects to read.
Yeah, ADHD. Don't give me
ADHD.
don't give me one thing I got to put my attention on. Give me a whole spectrum and just let me,
Yeah. Well, that's
So,
great.
how does music now fit into the BBS radio? How did you guys put that in there?
Well, I used to, when I got married, I went with my wife, and we saw a band called Blue October. You might even want to look at it. Blue October, check it out. Blue October is an interesting band. And they had formed a few months later. They were on stage, and we saw them after they had formed, and we thought, wow, what a great band. This is going to be awesome. And we never thought there were indie bands. I didn't know there were indie bandits out there with great music. That was my first exposure. Years ago in Houston, when they were just formed. And we couldn't make a deal. Their father and my brother and I couldn't make a deal on, giving them, what they needed in order to own them for X percentage of time, X percentage of points, right? So it didn't work. Yep. And they went about becoming superheroes. Now look at them. I mean, I wish it would have worked. But it showed Doug and I that this indie talent's remarkable, and Doug met some more that rose out from nowhere and became hits. And as we saw that our choices in music were pretty interesting, especially working with Daniel and Peter with PeterLamasProducts.com. And he's a celebrity and used to sing. And Daniel plays piano, virtuoso. His fingers fly like a virtuosa. I mean, amazing. And so we've been in music a little bit now for the past 15, 20 years. And we wanted to be able to enjoy that aspect. And look, Internet Talk Radio and music, what a beautiful marriage.
It works.
How can you call yourself a radio station if you don't have music?
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you're not playing music and listening to music, then, what are you?
It also gave us a lot of perks. In the beginning, we could utilize that contact base to get music that was royalty-free, that wasn't just some guy or lady playing on the harp,
demos
right?
And royalty-free tracks.
So we got access to better quality music for the talk streams, which was important. And we also could project that we were more of a full-bodied station, per se.
Right. A station with, 100 channels.
Right. Or a network. Let's call it a network because we got multiple stations.
Right. Yeah. You've got BBS Radio 1, BBS Radio 2, and BBS Radio Music.
Right. And nothing. We have no promos, no advertisements. In that 24-hour music, they can actually tune in to artists they've probably never heard, be totally enthralled from moment to end, and there's no commercials. There's nothing there to interrupt their beautiful sounds.
Wow, that's amazing.
We do it. It cost us only. It just plain cost us. This is something we don't make money on.
No, you throw it out there.
Right.
So how do the musicians take advantage of this type of situation?
With a little bit of encouragement, a nice note, letting them know that somebody's interested.
Before you go on, I just wanted to say I'm going to back out here for a little while. There's no one here, so enjoy, carry on. But I do have a program on Station 1, and I'm going to be putting them on the air. So I'll be back shortly. Just have fun, and thank you for allowing me to be interviewed by you guys. You guys are awesome. I love you guys since you've started, and I still love you.
Oh, thanks, Don. That was Don.
Well, to answer that, I wanted to give people an opportunity. I thought I had a pretty good ear. I loved music growing up. Got scholarships on music. So it was something that I had a love for, and being able to give an excuse to listen to new music, because I hated the radio. I got to a point where the radio I couldn't turn it on anymore. Because I could hear music that I've heard 1,000 times. I was thinking, why doesn't anybody get some new music out there? Finally, I got just sick of anything that was major label. I got to a point where I couldn't do it anymore. So this was a great outlet for me to explore, and it's exactly what I needed. And it grew into something all of its own. How do I help the artists? Well, if they can say they've been on BBS Radio, that helps them. I also I list them, so I get their information out there and promotion of them. I put them in newsletters. Further, if they want any data from me, whether it's feedback or anything else, I provide it. I respond to every single piece of music, every email. Wow. And I make sure I respond if I do accept them as well through congratulations and sometimes a write up on their music. I do take the time to do that.
Yeah, that's the dedication right there. So, I mean, it's a multifaceted. You guys are the biggest boys on the block, really, and it's multifaceted with two stations and a music station. So, you guys definitely keeping yourselves busy. Now, with the new format, people will be able to add their favorite artists. Like, that's what I was going to ask earlier about it. Like, do you have a my favorite sort of thing?
We could literally categorize all your favorites, sell them all automatically. All of your user favorites, you could ask them who theirs are. It would easily be able to show you all of the favorite categories. You could actually have an Uber cart system which can take automatic payment from any one of those people and set it up in a myriad of ways. And you can have a user that can actually make that material present itself in such a way as that he wants to see it. Maybe he wants bigger visual displays, or maybe the fonting system isn't in the way that they want it. They want products displayed in a certain part of the page.
Right.
And you, as maybe a manager of that content, can decide what content to see. Just imagine getting a library of content. What you have the content. The question is, it's not really pulling out. It's what do I pull out? Okay, do I pull out all the pictures of Lincoln and show them? Okay, do I present the 10 best pictures of Lincoln? Do I present only the pictures of Lincoln to people who put in the word Lincoln in a search engine? You see, so you have the content now. The question is, what do you want to display on it? What's important to people? And that's really where the challenge will come in. And with the user interface that we're going to have, hopefully we're able to solve, get those answers and you're
going to have video as well.
And we'll have video.
I mean, so you'll have almost like a live internet video stream that goes along with the radio program.
Right. And a show host should be able to, at a press of a button, be able to archive information. That information you should never have to write twice. It should present itself to us. You should also be able to get feedback on those archives and information from visitors so they can add content so it creates more search engine presence for every single bit of information you put out there. Things like that are going to be very, very important, I think, to the overall host experience and our experience. And it's going to make us for a really, I think, a higher level of satisfaction. And it's going to create a need that never existed before. You're going to need our tools because you're going to want them to succeed in the world of media. I think that's where we're going.
Right. And you're still going to have the archives will all be available?
Yeah, they'll be all available in different ways. You see, I can give you capability to allow the information flow with your parameters.
Right.
And I can do that very simply. In fact, a lot of these things will be just point and click. Just imagine a word on a page rather than having to click into the page and edit the program. It edits itself while you're on the page itself. Imagine going to Facebook, going to the front page and going, ooh, I don't like that heading, and just clicking on that heading, and just an inch little thing comes up and you're changing the heading right there. You're not clicking anywhere. You're changing the heading on that page.
Ah, okay.
Do you see?
Wow.
So things
totally
like
interactive.
And
you're going to have we'll have the ability for the hosts to interact with the listeners.
And
that would be a big one.
And us, and the guests, and hopefully the rest of the media world in a unique way. I mean, it can be as large as the imagination and the time we're willing to put into it. There's really no limits to something like this, and that's why I've been learning it and trying to develop it. Mm-hmm. Just imagine having a piece of content you can put anywhere on the page, and you're able to present whatever content you want on that part of the page. And once you create the structure that can do it, now you can duplicate that with any bit of information or in the way it presents itself. So once you've done it, the hard part's doing it, but then after that it's really easy.
So what are you looking at, summer for implementation? Do we have a surprise time, or is it just give me a roundabout? You could just even say it'll be this year.
End of the year?
End of the year?
Good.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like it's a lot of work, a lot.
Well, there'll be parts of it coming out, as we roll into it, but we really want to do a good job on it. Once you adopt a system like this, you want to make it so it can be changeable, interchangeable, and the system we're currently using isn't that way. So once you get a system like this in place, it's really one you use permanently almost.
It becomes an automatic. Everything becomes automated. Really, when you're dealing with a lot of hosts and a lot of information, you want to automate as much as you can.
Is the host experience. The host should be able to have live people engineering their program and being able to fully give over to that person's program. It's their time, it's their moment, and they deserve all of it. With the finest service you can give them. So that's where the live talent, we feel, needs to be.
Where
the rest is really, hey, it's internet. It can all be automated from there.